Number 5, Sekiro. Dance with the devil. Devil doesn't change. Devil changes you. Well, that was Sekiro for me. There are some games by the end, you could say they moved me emotionally, and I was like, wow, I'll never forget that experience. Sekiro changed me, like, as a gamer, and maybe even a person for the rest of my life. The most unique aspect and worth mentioning about Sekiro is their posture system. Enemies, for the first time that I've encountered, they no longer had just a health bar, they had a posture bar. And when they would attack, when you parry an attack, you build up their posture bar. And when the posture bar is filled, regardless of their HP, you can perform a death blow. So now you have kind of two ways of going about defeating the enemy. Now, not to mention regular enemies can be stealth attacked. So you've got this ninja game, action game, and then when fighting bosses, you're doing equal parts defense and offense. And it's just, this game makes you step up in a way other games I've played have not. Constantly have to be anticipating the enemy's moves, looking for openings, and honestly, keeping pressure on the AI. You cannot play, unlike other From Software games, so like Elden Ring, you cannot play Sekiro how you want to play. If you can't out ninja samurai yourself out of a problem, you're not beating that problem. I should point out that, well, first of all, I'll say that this game has two of the best video game bosses of all time, being the Guardian Ape and Ishin the Sword Saint. If you know, you know. I got to the end of this game, I don't know after how long, but I was stuck on the final boss for well over 6 months. Now, I wasn't playing him every day necessarily. In fact, I was intimidated by this AI construct so bad, I might even fight him once or twice and then be like, that's enough attempts for tonight. The final boss also is a 4-phase battle. You fight one dude, and then you fight the final boss, and he's got 3 phases. But you always have to fight the one dude. By the end of my last few attempts, I had fought the one dude so many times I was able to like breeze through him, get through him, not get hit. Phase 1, I'm pretty good at the final boss. Phase 2 is a little harder, and once you get to Phase 3, I've gotten to Phase 3 less than 10 times, I would say. And even right now, I'm at the end of New Game Plus, and I'm at the final boss, and I'm just reluctant to revisit that. I want to say nightmare again, but the challenge was thrilling, and it was rewarding when I finally beat him. And I gotta say, the beautiful game that it is, Sekiro is one of my favorite games. Number 4, Outer Wilds. Let me tell you what I like about Myst. Wait a minute, Gundog. I thought we were talking about Outer Wilds. Well, the reason why Outer Wilds is on my list is because it is the most recent, most realized version, modern version of Myst. Exempting the fact that there probably is a fairly new Myst game. They actually released a remastered version of the original Myst game not too long ago on Game Pass for like the Series SX. And you know what? Yeah, it's the same game as the original PC. It's just a little bit more polished, but it's the same game because the puzzles still hold up. And that's what Outer Wilds is. It's a puzzle game, but more than that, and what it accelerates it from Myst is the exploration is more fully realized. Myst is more than just a puzzle game. It is an exploration game. You go into these different worlds via these like books. These books have, I don't know if it's the pen or the words or the ink, I forgot. I'm bad with story. But these books teleport you to different worlds, and in the different worlds they have like a theme and some connecting like overall device. Like there's a like a windmill in one world, or like a pipe that's connecting, powering like a series of elevators, and you have to do essentially a pipe puzzle, but it's in the world. It's not on a piece of paper. It's not you know, top down or some type of digital like mobile game, you could easily represent some of these puzzles in a mobile game format in just like a 16-bit format or 8-bit format. But instead you're immersed in an environment, and that's what made Myst so special, and that's what makes Outer Wilds so special. The setting here, instead of going to different worlds through books, is you are literally in a closed circuit. You're in a solar system, and you start on a planet, and you're already given like a brief education on like, well, here are some of the other planets in the solar system. They have this nice educational, almost like children's museum that walks you through some of the basic mechanics and the planets you're going to be visiting. And then they're just like, okay, you know, go free. And I think there might be more to the story. I know that there are other missing astronauts, and I don't know if they're missing or they just left, but you do leave the planet, and you there's actually stuff on the planet you start on the other side. But the idea is you're supposed to explore all these different locations, and they don't tell you what order to do it in, and there really is no proper order. Now, you will visit some locations that may open up other opportunities on locations you've already visited. Everything is connected, but you will solve these you'll solve these puzzles by arriving on the planet and figuring out like what the mechanic is. Like, for example, in Myst, there was the pipe puzzle. But in Outer Wilds, like, there's a planet with storms, and these storms, these like tornadoes, are lifting up the islands in 0G, and that opens up opportunities for you that you're gonna have to figure out on your own. And then once you kind of solve these, you get clues to like a story that's kind of going on in the background. Not to mention, there is a time loop mechanic, but I don't want to spoil too much of this game because it is one of my favorite games. Number 3. Untitled Goose Game. Now, wait, Gundog. I thought you said your favorite puzzle game was like Myst or Outer Wilds. What's another puzzle game doing on this list? Well, to me, this isn't quite a puzzle game. I mean, it is, but the puzzles in this game are such a, I don't know, there's probably a word for it. I'm unprepared for this list. I didn't do my research. What do you call this? They're not, I almost want to say common sense puzzles, but no, not necessarily. Like, they give you a list. First of all, the aesthetic is beautiful. The game looks great. It sounds great. The music responds to like cues on what's happening on screen as it should, almost a la Doom Eternal. But like your objectives are written on a piece of paper. There's that beautiful sound effect of writing or like scratching things out. But the objectives will be like, make the farmer take off his hat. You know, it's not like get a high score. Yeah, get off the planet. It's something like make the boy buy his own toy back. It's like these very they make you think in such a realistic way about how people interact in the world. Like, what would make me put on my hat? It makes you think in a different way, and I never looked anything up when I played that game. I prided myself in trying to figure out how to make the farmer take off his hat, or and by the way, I keep bringing up the hat puzzle because I think I bypassed that one, and then that was something I came back to at the end because the game had finally fully clicked in my brain. I'm like, oh my god, now I know what to do. But that's the puzzle aspect of the game, which is great, and the aesthetic and the music is wonderful. The reason why I love this game is because with mini games, you might know about me, I always, if I can, will insert my own kind of role-playing aspect, and I always played this game as if I was the reincarnation of Satan. I'm sorry, I was the Antichrist specifically, and I just love to put out my wings and walk around and honk, and for that reason alone, that's why this is one of my favorite games. Number 2, Witcher 3. Now, this game almost didn't make my list because I hadn't thought of it in such a long time. But once I remembered it, I'm like, oh yeah, I played this 100+ hour game 4 times to completion. Certainly, that deserves some of my attention. There was a time where I thought this was my favorite game of all time, and it'll never not be special in my heart. This game really runs you. When I talk about games that moved you, like earlier in the list, this game makes you run the emotional gambit. It's funny, sad.
That was a lot sloppier than it.
Is that it? What are other emotions? Happy. It thoroughly engages your emotional spectrum. You play as Geralt of Rivia, who is the White Wolf, and by design he's almost kind of like a gray character, and you do get to fill in his choices with your own. There is the role playing is strong in this one, and it's not your like Skyrim role playing where you create your own character and you try to project yourself onto that character. In many ways, I feel like the role playing experience is almost better when you have a pre-designed character, because you have everything filled out for you except for the choices. You're able to say, well, I am Geralt of Rivia. It's easy for me to roleplay as Geralt of Rivia because I know who that is. And the stuff that I don't know, that's where I come in. That's where I fill in those blanks. And so when Geralt of Rivia is faced with a choice, I might say, my Geralt does this, and someone else might say, well, my Geralt does that. And in that respect, I might make a separate video, because I thought this the other day. I think the role-playing experience is almost better to have a preset base character, and here we have one of the best ones, again, Geralt of Rivia. This game has incredible music. It has, for me, a perfectly functional combat system that I really enjoyed. The leveling up, the different ways you can play. You go magic potion bombs, action, magic signs, blah blah blah. Build your character as you want. That's all an afterthought to, once again, folks, what's the most important thing to Gundog? The experience. The experience of this game is wonderful, and I'm going to give you a tip that I played, that I read early on. Top 10 suggestions when playing The Witcher. I actually turned the music off when I played. Now, not to say again that the music is actually fantastic, but when you're riding your horse through a storm and there's no music, it's actually more immersive just to hear the rain and the wind as you're galloping through the woods. And oh my god, the environments, the different places you'll go. The map is huge, and not necessarily by all size standards. Maybe GTA 5 map is bigger. I don't know, actually, no. But for the world you're in, everything feels fleshed out. The world isn't empty. There's things to do everywhere. And quite frankly, in maybe another year or two, I'll probably play this game again. Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is absolutely one of my favorite games of all time. Number 1, Resident Evil 4. And if you didn't know, now you know. This is one of my favorite games of all time. I played Witcher 3 4 times. I have played Resident Evil 4 over a dozen times. I literally lost count. You're like, 12? How did you lose count past 12? I have no idea, but I did. I know I've played it at least two times on every release, on every console, every re-release. Because I played it once and I always beat it on professional. You have to play it on normal to unlock professional. I mean, I love this game. Is it the best survival horror game? No. Is it the best action game? No. Is it the best combination of the two? Absolutely it is. It is also I would call it a shooter, not a rail shooter, but like a carnival shooter game. It's like, because you can't move when you're shooting. You run through the village, and here comes some villagers, so you have to stop, post up, pull your gun out, and then shoot your target. Ba-king, ba-king, ba-king. Even later, they do have a bonus side game that is literally a fairgrounds shoot the moving targets, which just further illustrates the mechanic, the main mechanic, action mechanic of the game, which was shooting the ba-king, ba-king, ba-king. I love Resident Evil 4. Also, memorable characters. It's got a campy plot. It's Rescue the president's daughter. Are you a bad enough dude to rescue the president's daughter? Wasn't that the plot for Bad Dudes, the arcade game back in the day? I don't remember. You play as Leon Scott Kennedy, reprising his role as Leon Scott Kennedy from Resident Evil 2. If you guys don't remember, which, by the way, Resident Evil 2, the remake, is the best Resident Evil game. Played that recently. But Resident Evil 2, you're Leon Kennedy. It's your first day on the job. It's police officer, Raccoon City PD. And now, after all that mess, somehow now you, like, work directly under the president as, like, a special op agent. His daughter's been kidnapped. They send just you alone to Mysteriesville, somewhere in, what, Spain, maybe? Somewhere Spain in Europe, because everyone's speaking some type of Spanish. It's like a Spanish dialect. Muerte, muerte. And you're shooting cultists. Oh, of course, it's a cult. It's wonderful. Umbrella is in the background, and of course, there still is a little. You have to make references to Umbrella. There has to be Umbrella bad guys. But the cultists stand for fantastic. Los Plagos. Is that the name of the cult, or is that the name of the disease? I don't remember. You know I'm bad with the story, guys. I just love playing that game. I'd replay it again. Oh, there's a remake coming out next year. Just like Ghostbusters, even if the remake is trash, it's not going to ruin the original game for me. The remake might be great. It's probably going to change the initial feel, but the mood or the atmosphere might be more gritty, and it might be more survival horror, which a remake might like. Hey, this might become my new favorite game. But the gameplay and the feel of the original Resident Evil 4 just had this, again, arcade style, what going to the fair, shooting the zombies, and just having an all-out good time, winning prizes. Great bosses. I love Resident Evil 4. It's my favorite game of all time. And so Resident Evil 4 is my favorite game of all time. So nice, I said it twice. And that's it, Gun Dogs. That's your boys' top 10 favorite games of all time. And a lot of games didn't make the list. I know if your favorite game isn't on the list, there's a reason for that. Most of mine aren't on the list either. Don't worry. I had to take Dead Space off the list. Dead Space. What did make it is I do think it's still a good expression. I was happy to put the list together upon request. And you know what? There's honestly more. I could do that. I could do another 10 favorite games of all time again with 10 completely different games. Really take the list with a grain of salt. These are 10 of my favorite games. We put them in order, but it was just for fun. Number one probably still really is near and dear to my heart, Resident Evil 4, and that's just because I played it so much. Now, in number 0, we didn't see this coming. Hold on. Chronicles of Riddick, Escape from Butcher Bay. Well, it's Assault on Dark Athena with the remaster of Escape from Butcher Bay. This is one of my most prized possessions. This is not, however, currently backwards compatible. I think due to licensing or something. But I own this game, and I love this game. It's for those of you who don't know. I know Hector right now is probably thinking Riddick, like from Chronicles of Riddick. Well, yeah, it's called Chronicles of Riddick. Yeah, that guy. Yes, the Vin Diesel guy. His movie-based game is actually pretty good because the game is not based on the movie. The game is like an original story with the character Riddick. So if you just think about Riddick, he could see in the dark or whatnot. That mechanic's in the game. It works really well for like a stealth first-person melee shooting game. A lot of fun. Here's my promise to you guys, Gun Dogs. If we hit 500 subscribers, I will stream both of those games. I do actually own a 360, and the only reason I haven't streamed it so far is I just don't want to waste it on the 120 subscribers we have now, because quite frankly, none of you guys like or comment. Oh no, the likes, I get a few likes, but nobody comments, so I don't feel like I'm not getting enough interaction with the community to know who's there, to know what you guys want, and who will actually really appreciate it. It's not your fault, it's the majority of the other Gun Dogs. So let's get some more subscribers. So let's hit 500, and that's your promise from Gundog 0, Gundog 2046. I have decided which one I am. Do you guys know who I am? I'm one of the Gundogs. I'm Alpha Gundog? I don't know. So, yeah, thanks for joining me. Like, subscribe, leave a comment so I know who came by. All right, peace.